Hello everyone, my name is Devin Payne, and I am posting a series of videos on why I love Fear the Walking Dead. But not just about why I love the show, but why I love seasons 4 and 5. It's no secret that ratings and positive reviews for Fear the Walking Dead have declined since the show's 4th season. Both critics and fans of the show have described seasons 4 and 5 as nonsensical, altruistic, too lighthearted, and just plain stupid. Now, I think we can all agree on at least 2 of these criticisms. They are altruistic, they are lighthearted, but nonsensical? Plain stupid? I don't think so. Now, this video is not to convince you that you should like seasons 4 and 5 of Fear. My goal is to tell you why I like them and why I think some of the harsh criticisms of those seasons are wrong, and hopefully, by the end of these videos, you might look at seasons 4 and 5 from a different perspective. In my last video, I pointed out the mixed to negative reception of seasons 4 and 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, and explored just some of the criticisms that befell it. Today, we will be exploring another one of those criticisms, which pertains to the show's main protagonist, former main protagonist, Madison Clark. Since the first episode of the series, we have been following Madison and her family from the day the zombie outbreak began to the day she went down in a blaze of gory at the Dell Diamond Baseball Stadium. Blaze of gory. See what I did there? Madison's mission since day one was to keep her children and her fiancé Travis together and alive. They were joined by Travis's ex-wife Liza and their teenage son Chris. In their travels, they meet Daniel Salazar and his wife and daughter Griselda and Ophelia, and sleazy conman Victor Strand. Together, they escape Los Angeles as it burns to the ground and is overrun by zombies. Unfortunately, both Griselda and Liza do not make it with them to take the journey. At first, Madison maintains her compassionate nature. She welcomes other survivors to join them on their quest to find a safe haven in the middle of all the chaos. She even tries to help a pregnant woman, even while she's being held hostage. Granted, she was just buying time while her friends figured out a way to escape. And when Victor Strand cuts off the survivors Madison wanted to save with his yacht, she is visibly horrified.
Strand! No!
Over the course of the series, Madison meets people that causes her to question how far she is willing to go to protect her family. Her desire to do this is what drives her to commit the first reprehensible act we see her do in the series. When the Clark family arrives at a safe house in Mexico, owned by a woman named Celia, things start to look up for our main characters. However, Celia has a secret. She keeps a room full of walkers inside a cell. The reason for this is because she believes that the walkers are not really dead, but they have simply evolved to another stage of life, a life that goes on forever.
They're not really dead, are they?
No, they are not, Nicholas.
So what are they?
They are what comes next.
Madison notices that Celia is passing on these erroneous ideas into her son's head. Madison knows that her son has a very kind and sensitive heart and is very willing to listen to the beliefs and deep inner feelings of the people he talks to. Madison believes that Celia's ideas are damaging to Nick's already fragile psyche, so when the opportunity presents itself, Madison locks Celia with the walkers that she kept hidden inside of her cells, so that she will be eaten alive and will no longer be able to manipulate her son into doing things her way.
If your child was hungry, would you not feed him? If your child couldn't speak, would you not speak for him anyway? Even if your child could not love, Would you not love him anyway?
I would.
What wouldn't you do for your children?
Nothing.
Madison begins to deteriorate further in the third season, especially after she learns of the death of Travis. She finds sanctuary with Nick, Alicia, and Nick's new girlfriend, Luciana, at a ranch owned by Jeremiah Otto. When Jeremiah tries to comfort Madison after her loss, Madison reveals that she is an atheist and that she does not believe in God.
If I believed in God, which I don't, I swear it's a cosmic joke. I get my children. Travis.
This could explain why she was able to ruthlessly make a decision like killing Celia so easily without feeling much remorse and dismissing it as something she had to do to protect the one she loves. She operates as if there isn't an almighty God that won't one day judge her for her actions. She believes morality is a gray area and there are no objective rules, especially after living in the apocalypse.
Complicated problems call for complicated solutions.
Killing people's not complicated, it's simple.
You see? You understand this world, you understand me. That's why I picked you.
Now, Madison's not alone in this. 9 out of 10 of the characters in the Walking Dead universe operate this way anyways. But it does bring me to the next interesting aspect of Madison's character. In the 8th episode of the 3rd season, Madison reveals that, at a young age, she murdered her father in his sleep. Not only does she say she did this to protect her mother from his drunken and abusive behavior, but she said she'd do it 1,000 times more if she had to. From this point, it is clear that Madison has no problem continuing this behavior for the safety of her children. But this begs the question, does Madison kill for the safety of her loved ones? Or is there something darker lingering within? That hypothesis was addressed in a previous scene in the same episode by none other than Alicia.
We're on the wrong side.
Size don't matter. The only thing that matters is future.
A future built on this.
Mom, I get what they did to Travis.
No, it's not about that.
I know you want to protect us from that, and I'm with you. I am, but there has to be something, some line we don't cross.
Otherwise, we're just like Otto.
Otto's alive. Troy's alive.
Troy's alive because we lied for him.
What?
He killed the Trimbles.
You knew?
Alicia.
Gretchen was innocent. And you covered for her killer. All your talk about family...
I know it's hard to understand.
It's impossible to understand! You're just like them. You're worse! You're heartless!
Don't say
You
that.
don't have feelings!
Alicia.
No wonder Dad was so depressed. He was living with a goddamn corpse!
Enough! If I wasn't busy keeping everyone else alive, I would have time for feelings. I'd love that luxury. I'd love to indulge myself, but someone has to be strong. Someone has to keep everyone else together. You have no idea what I carry.
That's it, right there. Alicia calls Madison out on her sociopathic nature. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Madison can't feel love or joy or pain. It's clear that she feels those things, and we've already explored why. She does have love and she can feel pain. The sociopathic aspects of her personality is what gives her the ability to make decisions like murdering people. and what gives her the capacity to carry the emotional weight that goes with that. But this part of Madison scares her children. They're not necessarily scared of her, they're more scared for her. Nick especially so. He loves his mother, and at this point in the series, he only knows her as nurturing and compassionate. He's never known this determined, pragmatic, and violent version of her, and he doesn't want to. So, when Madison makes the decision to kill Jeremiah Otto in order to prevent Walker from taking the ranch by force, Nick steps up to the plate and kills Jeremiah himself in order to prevent Madison from becoming the monster he fears she's turning into.
The reason why I like her so much, the reason she's tougher than you'll ever be, is because she is exactly like...
But this action causes a rift in Nick and Madison's relationship. Madison can say she killed her father to protect her mother all she wants, but Nick knows. He knows Madison really did it for herself. She hated her father and wanted him dead. Nick, however, killed to protect his mother from herself. He had no agenda. He had no secret desire to kill or harm anyone. He just didn't want his mother becoming a villain. He didn't want her becoming like Troy. Madison killed out of hatred. Nick killed out of love. Nick doesn't like killing. He never has. And the idea of himself becoming a monster terrified him.
And if that came out of me, then I'm insane, Travis. Yeah, I'm insane. I really don't want to be insane.
And it's these differences that put mother and son at odds. Nick knows who he is, and he knows who he is not. He's not a murderer, and he doesn't want to be one. However, the same cannot be said for Madison. Nick ponders over Madison's tendency and thirst for violence, and when he starts to verbally analyze her, watch her reaction.
I mean, sometimes the burden's too much. Saw it in your eyes when you went after Troy.
He needed to be put down.
And you get to make that call.
Yeah, I get to make that call for your sister, for you. It's
Not for me!
It's the world we live in.
You always lived in that world. Now it's okay for you to be who you really are.
Fuck you.
Yep, it's that reaction right there that shows us that Nick is right. Nick walks around self-righteously taunting his mother, and she desperately wants him to stop. Just listen to Nick pleading with his mother to see herself and to be honest about it before it's too late.
You may have no choice with me.
I would never hurt you.
Unless you had to. Unless it was necessary.
Stop it.
Could you do it?
Stop it!
Just the looks on their faces alone show so many possibilities and where this story could have gone if Dave Erickson was still running the show. A few years after leaving Fear the Walking Dead, Dave Erickson was asked about his original plans for the show. And in response, he had this to say. The thing that's interesting to me, and one of the questions I asked myself and asked Robert Kirkman very early on, was, of the people in our group, who do you see becoming the governor? Of our group, who could become a Negan? That's interesting to me, to watch an evolution of a character and start with them as a hero, and bleed that into an anti-hero, and bleed that into a full-on villain. It would have been interesting. In terms of the final conflict within the family, it would have been key. For me, there's a lot left for Madison specifically, said Erickson. This is all good and fun, and I have to admit, I would have loved to see what a Dave Erickson Season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead would have looked like. But the truth of the matter is, it didn't happen. Fear was given new showrunners, and the direction Dave Erickson was going went out the window. But is that a bad thing? I'm sure a lot of you would say so, but I wouldn't. I would like to point out that I believe the best thing for Fear the Walking Dead would have been for Dave Erickson to stay on as showrunner. But I also believe that him leaving didn't make the show worse or inherently bad. It just made it different. And even Madison was different. Or was she? When we first meet Madison in the second episode of Season 4, we see a completely different side to her than we did in Season 3. She's now the leader of a whole community of people. She's going out of her way to help a child find her family. When she's held at gunpoint by a complete stranger, she offers her help instead of threatening her. Wait a moment. How did we go from this Madison?
It's the world we live in.
You always lived in that world. Now it's okay for you to be who you really are.
Fuck you.
To this Madison?
No one's gone till they're gone.
Madison Clark helping other people? Madison Clark providing sanctuary, food, and other resources for other survivors other than herself and her children? That doesn't seem right. That's not Madison. Or is it? To understand why Madison is the way she is in Season 4, we have to go back a little bit. Or forward, depending on how you look at it. Season 4 is told in a non-linear narrative. The main story of the first half of Season 4 is mostly told in flashbacks. I have to give credit to Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss for choosing to use this device to tell their story. It was a good tool to use in order to get the timeline of Fear the Walking Dead to catch up with the timeline of The Walking Dead, the main show. And it also added some mystery and suspense. It was a surprising and compelling way to introduce Alicia, Nick, Strand, and Luciana into the season and pair them with the new characters.
There are bad people here.
Where? Drop it! Hey, drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Okay. Drop it!
So what the hell's your story?
And as the season unfolds, audiences would be wondering, how in the world did they end up like this? Why are they so hell-bent on revenge? Who exactly are the vultures? And where the hell is Madison? We get answers to all of those questions by the end of the 8th episode of Season 4, where we finally learn that Madison actually died. The vultures released a horde of walkers onto the baseball stadium. Nick, Alicia, Strand, and Luciana were trapped and had no way of escape. But Madison ignited a flare, forced the herd to follow her, and from there, she walked to her demise.
I was afraid to lose this place because I thought you needed it to stay who you are right now. But you know it. No one's gone until they're gone.
There you have it. Madison did what she had to do to protect her family. Sound familiar? If Madison was willing to kill her own father to protect the rest of her family, what else would she be willing to do? Of course, that's not necessarily the point. The question was, how did Madison go from Season 3 Madison to Season 4 Madison? Well, we'd have to go to the beginning of the 8th episode of Season 4 to find that out. This is where it gets interesting. At the end of Season 3, Madison was not a happy lady. Her fiancé was killed, her son almost blew himself up, literally, and she almost drowned. And the last place that she was actually considering making a home out of for her and her children was completely destroyed. So, in the timeline of the Walking Dead universe, where does she go right after this? Here. You see this face? Does this look like the face of a woman who's ready to turn a baseball stadium into a community that would house hundreds of survivors? Does this look like the face of a woman who is willing to go out of her way to find another woman's husband and bring him back to safety? Or go find a little girl's lost parents? Does this look like the face of a hopeful, altruistic woman? No, it does not. This is the face of a woman who has been through hell and is tired of it. This is the face of a woman who committed patricide as a child and has had to live with the weight of it on her conscience for decades. This is the face of a woman who Nick feared would manifest in the chaotic world of a zombie apocalypse, where no law enforcement or authority exists to quell the wrath of a woman scorned. And oh God almighty, has this woman been scorned. Maybe if season 4 began with this shot of Madison looking angrily at Althea, her transformation from this to this might have been a little bit more easier to grasp.
And you were a lot crankier. Maybe a bit funnier.
See, I can do it.
No.
But for the sake of structure, this scene was placed as a flashback in the mid-season finale. It is up to us, the audience, to determine where exactly this scene takes place in the actual narrative.
I don't know you, but I saw your vehicle. Gives me a pretty good idea what you're capable of. You don't know me either. And you're not going to. But that little meaningful click should give you an idea of exactly what I'm capable of. So toss me your keys.
In the rest of the scene, Madison ties up Althea and demands to know where her children are. Of course, Madison should have known better than to underestimate Althea, because a couple of minutes later, we see Madison in the exact same position, with Althea on the other side of the table. And the conversation that follows is just sweet. Madison recounts how she came to be where she is, and she tells Althea a story of when her children were young, before the apocalypse, before things went dark, before her husband committed suicide. She talks about how fragile and compassionate her children were before the outbreak. It's a beautiful story, and Madison reveals that she doesn't want that good side of her children to die, and that her main goal throughout the whole series was just to find a place where they would feel safe, so that they wouldn't have to resort to violence and killing, and in the process lose their humanity.
That's why I need to find a place where things will be different. Because that's still in my kids. But that light's getting fainter every day we're out here. And I can't. I can't imagine that part of them dying. I'll do whatever it takes to keep it alive.
This is not out of character for Madison. Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg did not mess up her character. In fact, I would go as far as to say that they completed Madison. I say this because she achieved her goal, because that was her goal, to find a place where her kids could be safe. If you don't believe me, let's go back a couple of seasons and let me show you. There are at least 6 occasions that I could find where Madison talks about what she wants and what her whole reason for surviving is. 3 of those conversations is shown with Madison in conversation with Victor Strand.
Did you find Nick?
We did, yes.
Alicia?
North. Safe on the ranch with her brother. My children are alive.
You always find a way to protect your kids.
And I've done some god-awful shit in the name of family. Alicia and Nick have seen it. Followed it. Sacrificed too much.
You think you have a say on what they do or don't do? Come on now. Remove them from the picture. Just this once for me. All right?
I don't know, it's been too long since I've thought about what I want. Since before they were born.
Let's go back to then. It was what, the late 80s, right? I bet you had a perm. What did Perm Madison want?
A Mustang, tickets to Cheap Trick in Birmingham. I come from country, Victor. That ranch has problems to spare, but it's the closest thing to what I know. That's where I want to be.
Sure. What do you see?
Murky mud pit, presided over by a lonely old man and his little fool.
Okay. Bleak. See past that. See corn, melons, beans, irrigation, agriculture, cattle, if you miss the manure. Country Madison. That's what you said you wanted, isn't it?
I wanted a future for my kids. Okay, maybe some grandkids to spoil.
Okay, great.
Christmas morning, surrounded by babies. I make a damn good roast turkey.
I figured you more for sandwiches. Bologna and cheese.
No Christmas. No, turkey, gravy, stuffing, you name it. Family tradition. He used to make iced angel cookies with the kids.
Ah.
I just thought we'd have that at the ranch.
We can have that here.
My kids are gone.
We'll build a verdant paradise for them to come home to. Come on. Picture it. We'll create it.
Here?
You just need a little liquid imagination.
You insist.
I do.
You see, all Madison ever wanted, really wanted, was for her children to live in a world where they could be safe, in a world where they could thrive. A perfect world. She never wanted her children to have to kill and hurt people to survive.
What kind of mother would that make me?
I don't know. Honest, maybe.
She never wanted her children to give in to hatred and resort to violence just to get a meal.
I promised them we'd find a place to live.
What kind of place?
Something that wasn't just walls. We had those in LA, in Mexico, across the border, a bunch of places in between. What I was looking for was different.
How?
I was looking for a place where my kids wouldn't have to do what I did to you today.
Yes, Madison has made some rather cruel and ruthless decisions, but that still didn't detract her from what she truly wanted in her heart. It was the need to make those decisions that got in the way of her achieving that goal. That was the significance to the dream sequence that we see in the season 3 finale. This is what Madison wants. A nice, safe place to live in where her friends and family would come to visit her on Christmas mornings, where they would feast and be merry and just love on each other. But that dream, that vision, it's all tainted by the hatred, violence, and death of the world that she currently lives in. The only thing stopping Madison from having what she wants is blood. And it's through her conversation with Althea in the days after the dam explosion in season 3 that she realizes that if she hopes to have any sort of future at all, especially with her children, she's going to have to put all of that behind her. I believe Madison came to this realization after Althea tells her the story of Twisted Round, a warlord who oppressed a whole village of people through fear.
Nobody in the village could talk about it because they were too scared. Till I talked one into talking about it. In the end, they didn't need the peacekeepers. They didn't need guns or air support because the truth was the Twisted Round didn't have the army he said he did. He didn't have the guns. He didn't have shit. And suddenly the villagers weren't so afraid. They started standing up to him and his boys. Twisted Round didn't last too much longer after that. The only thing he had going for him was the truth wasn't coming out. Until it did.
I think at that moment, Madison had a choice to make. She could become like that warlord, or she could be the mother she always wanted. She could have this. She could have
a future for my kids. Okay, maybe some grandkids to spoil.
Okay, great.
Christmas morning surrounded by babies. I make a damn good roast turkey.
Even after pointing a gun at her and threatening her, even after stealing her property, Althea lets Madison go and even gives her supplies that she'll need on her journey to find Nick and Alicia. Althea could have just killed her right then and there, but she let her live. It's that act of mercy that showed Madison that there's still good left in people. And maybe still good left in her children. And maybe still good left in her. Let's go back to the dream sequences in Season 3, Episode 16. Now, these dreams can be interpreted in many different ways. But for the sake of consistency, I'll tell you what I think these dreams mean. The biggest hope that Madison Clark has is that her children can grow up and have a happy life. She wants grandchildren she wants to spoil with Christmas trees and gifts and happy family dinners. However, these desires aren't possible if everyone is constantly at war with each other, fighting and shedding each other's blood for land and survival. Madison knows she has committed egregious acts, and if she allows this behavior to continue, her son and daughter-in-law won't want anything to do with her, nor will they allow her anywhere near her grandchild. And her only daughter will end up dead. And then there's this part. I'm not suggesting that anyone on the show intended for this scene to have any religious symbolism, but since the writers have given every viewer the freedom to interpret these scenes in any way they wish, I'm going to interpret Madison falling into the graves as her falling into hell. But at the last second, Travis comes along and pulls her out. This could be a representation for Jesus pulling her out and saving her. I know this might be frustrating for some, but that's just how I choose to look at it. You can choose to look at it however you want, as is your right. But this dream sequence occurring simultaneously with Madison drowning in water, only emerging after Travis has pulled her out of the ground. It's very powerful. You can look at Madison washing up out of the river as a sort of baptism. She's a new person, not entirely changed, but beginning to. Speaking of religious symbolism, I would compare Madison to the Apostle Paul, who is responsible for the many deaths of Christians before having an encounter with Jesus. Acts 9:1-6 states, "Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, 'Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?' 'Who are you, Lord?' Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." Paul is struck blind by his encounter with Jesus, but 3 days later, he meets Ananias, who places his hands on him and prays for him. Paul's sight is restored, and Acts 9:18-20 states, "Immediately, something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He got up and was baptized. And after taking some food, he regained his strength. Saul spent several days with the disciples in Damascus. At once, he began to preach in the synagogues that Jesus is the Son of God." Just as Paul was changed by his encounter with Jesus, Madison Clark was changed by her encounter with Althea.
There, that's it.
Here? The baseball stadium?
Isn't it a little big for us?
It's not just for us, Victor. I'm thinking that's why we haven't found a place that's worked yet. We were thinking too small.
I don't understand. You want to bring other people in?
Someone helped me when she didn't have to. I think it's time for us to do the same.
Madison always had goodness in her, but she also had darkness. The zombie apocalypse just brought that darkness out. But it was her encounter with Althea that reminded her of her goodness and that she can get it back, as long as she chooses to. And, in the end, Madison chose good. And if that surprises you, you're not alone. Even Nick is surprised by his own mother's sudden altruism.
It's not just for us, Victor. I'm thinking that's why we haven't found a place that's worked yet. We were thinking too small.
I don't understand. You want to bring other people in?
For the longest time, Madison's only concern was helping herself and her family. But things weren't always this way. Madison had a desire to help other people since the beginning of the series, which makes sense given that she was once a high school guidance counselor, tasked with helping children with their studies. In the first episode, she helps Tobias when he is confronted by the school principal for having something metal in his pocket.
Tobias, please don't screw yourself like this. You've been working your ass off. You're on track to go to college.
Yeah.
Later, she offers Tobias shelter with her family.
You can stay with us, Tobias, until this is over.
This doesn't end.
There's room, it's safe.
You gotta take care of your son.
Later, she risks being able to escape Los Angeles with her family during the beginning stages of the outbreak to prevent her next-door neighbor from being killed by his zombified wife. And we all remember how that turned out.
Patrick! Don't touch her!
In Season 2, she agrees to take another family aboard Strand's boat to give them a chance at survival.
You want us to take Harry and Willa?
Oh, my dad, I want my mama.
I know. This is what they want. They want us to take care of you.
What happened to Willa?
She got sick.
Madison, what have you done now?
We're taking him with us. We have room.
Put him back where we found him.
We have room.
We do not. Children are the definition of dead weight.
You're not doing this again. You don't decide who lives and who dies.
That's exactly
There's
what I
no
get to do.
debate. We're doing this. Now move the goddamn boat.
Madison's always had a strong moral code. It makes sense that the zombie apocalypse would test that code severely, and that she would slip away from it at times. And it also makes sense that after losing sight of her moral values, a change in events would help her get it back, which she does in the end, and as a result, Madison is rewarded with being reunited with her family. Madison ends Season 3 with the possibility of going in one or more direction. She could either go on the path towards redemption, or she can continue on with her path towards destruction. This is what Dave Erickson intended. He wanted to leave Madison and the show's direction open to any avenue. So when the new showrunners came along, they had an option to take Madison and the show in a more positive direction or a more darker road. I don't think it would be accurate to say that Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg changed Madison by completely rebooting her character. They met her where she was and constructed her story from where it was left off in season 3. And Madison's changes weren't abrupt or out of place. It was a gradual change. We must take into account that after Madison finds Nick and Alicia, along with Strand and Luciana, a whole year and a half goes by. That's more than enough time for Madison to become the Madison we see in Season 4, Episode 2, Another Day in the Diamond, where she's having a conversation with Charlie about salmon patties.
What about Lee's favorite food?
Salmon patties.
Salmon patties? What's a salmon patty?
It's like canned salmon with mayonnaise, breadcrumbs, and onions grilled in a pan.
Ugh. Oh, that sounds terrible. Spend your whole life swimming upstream, end up a patty?
It might sound cheesy to some, but to me, it's heartwarming. After seeing Madison go through so much hardship, it's so nice to see her in a good place. Madison's entire goal and whole purpose in the series was to keep her family alive and find a place they could call home. And in Season 4, she achieves that goal. For those who complained that Madison was too soft for their liking in Season 4, her pragmatic personality is still present, but in a new way. What the new showrunners did was combine Madison's fast-acting survival skills and her compassionate and maternal nature, only resorting to violence when she needs to.
You want to go?
Go.
Why are you really here? Huh? Turn everyone against us? Bring this place down from the inside?
Where's Charlie?
She's not going with you, Mel.
Goddamn walls aren't gonna hold.
Yes, they will, and we'll keep her safe.
Oh, keep her safe? Really? That's the same thing Charlie's parents said to me, and you know what? They died right in front of her.
That wasn't here. That wasn't us.
You're holding on to something that's gone. You're trying to be the type of people that are extinct.
No one's gone till they're gone.
Madison has always been soft and nurturing. We see this side of her in the first 2 seasons, and in Season 3, she comforts Ophelia in her final moments and shows deep sorrow when she dies before her father arrives.
Okay. He's here. No.
Wake up, please. Please, Ophelia. Oh, God. Oh.
Daniel, wait! Wait!
Where's Ophelia?
Listen to me. Doc, please, listen to me. Just listen for a minute. Listen to me. No.
Ophelia. Ophelia. Ophelia? Ophelia.
Madison, you can't go out there.
My kids are in that parking lot. You gonna stop me?
No. I'm coming with you.
With Madison's maternal instincts and violent tendencies combined, but juxtaposed with a desire to do good and be an honorable example to her children whilst providing a place for them to live safely and comfortably, Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg completed Madison's arc. So, in my opinion, her death wasn't a waste. Was it sad? Yes. Was it aggravating? Yes. Was it necessary for the show? Maybe not. Did it make sense? I think it did. Madison died protecting her kids. She died a leader. She didn't die as a villain or as a ruthless woman at war with her own family, which is what was sure to happen if Dave Erickson had continued this story. Be angry with Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg for killing off Madison, but you can't deny that they handled Madison's death with the respect and grandiose her character deserved. Madison went down fighting like a true heroine, and the cinematography, music, and use of slow motion just made her demise feel larger than life. Madison's mission was complete. She protected her children and turned them into people who were strong enough to fight and fend for themselves. They don't need her anymore because they already know how to live. They believed that she wasn't too far gone, that she could change, that she didn't have to be who she thought she was, because the truth is, no one's gone until they're gone. That's why it was so important to Morgan that Alicia stop going down the dark path she was on after her mother died. He knew that this wasn't what Madison wanted for her. So, for those of you who complained about Alicia abstaining from killing walkers and painting trees in Season 5, you better hope she keeps painting trees, because if she turns into the vengeance-fueled killing machine that we saw in the first half of Season 4, it would be undoing everything Madison died for. Then her demise would have really been a waste. I know Madison dying is infuriating for some. Call it unnecessary, call it stupid. But you can't say it didn't make sense, especially since I gave you several good reasons as to why it did. Sure, you're upset that Madison's gone, but that was the point of killing her off in the first place. You were supposed to get upset. And what difference would it have made whether she died or survived? Fear the Walking Dead is still Fear the Walking Dead. The show didn't die with her. It's already in production on its 7th season, and it has a substantial viewership. And the show really knocked it out of the park with Season 6. That finale, oh my god. It's the best season we've gotten since Season 3. I would go even further and say that it's the best season out of the whole series so far, even better than Season 3. Just as The Walking Dead is doing just fine without Rick Grimes, Fear the Walking Dead is standing on its own 2 feet without Madison there to hold its hand. Would the show be better if Madison returned? Of course. Maybe, or maybe not. I don't think it makes much of a difference at this point. Just as it doesn't make much of a difference of Rick being gone from The Walking Dead. Except we know Rick isn't dead. We know Madison is dead. Or do we? Are we sure Madison is really dead? That's interesting. I wonder what Kim Dickens has to say about that.
You don't know. I know. I mean, I think fans are still upset about it at times. Yeah, I don't know. That's the nature of the genre, though. You can be going like that, and you can also pop up at some time.
Yeah. If she were to survive.
If she were,
what would have been the thing that she might have done? If you had to pitch the scenario.
She would have scurried up that wall like nobody's business. Okay. She had kids on the other side of that wall. She was gonna go get them.
So, maybe it is possible that this scene wasn't the last we saw of Madison Clark. I will admit, I'm one of the many fans who are waiting eagerly to finally get an answer as to whether or not Madison is truly dead. But in the event that she is still alive somewhere in the world of The Walking Dead, I really hope she is still the heroine that she apparently died as. I once saw the headline of an article titled, "Bring Madison Back and Make Her the Villain She Was Supposed to Be." No thank you. Because that would defeat the purpose of her transformation and apparent death in Season 4. However, I will say this. If Madison is really dead, I'm fine with that, because of how honest and respectfully they treated her demise. But I would also like some proof. I would like to see a body. That's all I would ask of the showrunners. But if she is alive, I really hope they don't turn her into a villain. Please let her return as the lead and main protagonist of the show. Let her be the heroine we saw in season 4. Because, first, it would be consistent with the story, and 2, it will be better to see Madison as the Rick Grimes of Fear the Walking Dead, rather than seeing her turn into the Negan. We've already had enough of that. We've seen time and time again of heroes turning into villains on these shows. I don't think it's too much to ask to just let a hero be a hero. Or in this case, a heroine.